The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you would like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And we're coming to you tonight around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network, iHeartRadio, Zeno Media, and of course, Simul Radio and Simul TV. My guest this hour is Calvin Parker, and on October the 11th, 1973, 19-year-old Calvin Parker and his friend, 42-year-old Charles Hickson, were spending a frustrating evening on the Pascagoula River in Mississippi. Both men loved to fish, but tonight's fishing trip would turn out to be the one they would never forget. Joining me now to tell us the story is Calvin Parker. And Calvin, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Calvin, what happened on the night of October the 11th, 1973? But before you tell me, I can fully understand how frustrating fishing can be at times.
Well, I know I do it on a regular basis, too. We had just got off work, and for an October night, it was hot that day. It was probably in the 90s, 100-degree humidity. So we decided to go fishing and just kind of cool down for a little bit. We went to Charlie's house, picked up the fishing equipment, and left, and drove over to Pascagoula to the old Saltpeter shipyard, which used to be a grain elevator there, that when they'd unload the grain, the fish would come up and eat the grain, and that was a pretty easy target, we thought.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I had been there. But anyhow, we got there, and we unloaded the car, and we walked through a lot of debris. It had been flooding. The river had got up, and it washed all this debris up on the banks and all. And I was thinking to myself, why don't they clean this mess up? Mm-hmm. But Charlie had told me later that the flood water brought all this stuff in from different places. And it was really a mess. So time we walked down there, it was a good 15, 20-minute walk, just struggling through the trash and the debris and the marsh grass. We got there and we sat down and we started fishing. And I was looking over across the river, and there was a big Coast Guard cutter, and it was made out of steel. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder how all this floats. This thing's made out of steel, you know. It's hard to believe that steel float. Well, about the time I was thinking that, I seen some lights from behind me coming across the water. It was kind of a blue, hazy-looking light. And I thought, yeah, we're trespassing. Charlie done got us in trouble because we down here at an abandoned shipyard, not supposed to be here fishing. And it did have a no trespassing sign up. So I stood up and turned around and looked, and immediately I seen it wasn't the law there. It was some kind of craft, but the lights opened up then. It was a real bright blue looking light. It was almost so bright it was blinding. And it was just shocking, you know, when it first seen it, and I looked around to see if I could find a place to run or get away from it. And there was water on the left, water on the right, and of course there was water in the front. And there was a lot of debris in the water right there where the old pier had been falling in. But it wasn't just a second. It was 3 beings of some kind. And they was probably halfway to us before I could make out anything about them, because the lights were so bright, you just squinching your eyes. But 2 of them come up, and 3 of them came up. 2 of them got a hold of Charles Hickson, and 1 got a hold of myself. And immediately, when they grabbed her arm, or grabbed my arm, I don't know about his, but immediately I just got relaxed. It was like they gave me some kind of injection.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I mean, but, it took the fear away, so that helped, because it was kind of scary right there for a minute. So when they grabbed the arm, I just immediately relaxed. But I was levitated up, and the only thing I could do was think, how does this keep from breaking my arm off? But we went back across this trash. We was floating probably 2 foot off the ground, and we just cruised across the top of this trash and all. And I couldn't see Charlie because I couldn't turn my head. I couldn't do nothing but just look straight ahead.
So you were kind of paralyzed.
I was paralyzed.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Because I caught myself wanting to turn around and look and see somebody was with me, or if Charlie was there, or what else was going on. But I couldn't. But my memory was good. I mean, I could see really good. And it just took us aboard a craft, and immediately he took a left turn and then another right turn. And I was in a little room, and they laid me on a table. I say they laid me on a table. I don't know if it was a table or not. I don't know if we just suspended there. But I figured it was probably a table at about a 45-degree angle. And by this time, I was looking straight up at the ceiling, and I still couldn't roll my head anyway. I was still fairly relaxed, and something came out of the ceiling about the size of a deck of cards, and it got to my head, and it clicked on the front, it clicked on the side, clicked at the back of my head, it clicked on the other side, then it went back into the ceiling. It was 4 clicks there. And this big ugly thing that was standing there in front of me, and I figure he was a robot or a soldier of some kind, because he knows he was big and ugly. He just left the room, and when he did, this smaller humanoid creature came out, or I call it a creature. I think it was a she, not for sure, but this smaller being came out, and she had her hands and started grabbing hold of my face and pulling around and looking and examining. I call it an examination, and feeling the skin and everything. Well, I couldn't feel. Normally you would think that you could feel the temperature or a little pain, but I couldn't feel no feelings in my face. It's kind of like they give you the dentist would give you a shot to numb everything. Yeah. But she did that, and then she made like a little glunk, glunk, glunk noise, and the big ugly one come in, was standing there. Well, I started kind of getting a little afraid again, and it was just like she had said it, but her mouth didn't move. She said, "There's nothing to be afraid of." And I just calmed down. I guess, I don't know why it calmed me, but it was just good to hear them say something. But the whole time I was laying there, I was thinking, I could probably, if I could move, I could take her, I could grab her around the neck, and we'll run out this door, and I'll have me, whoever this is, and make him do some answering. So anyhow, she went back into another little room, and the big ugly one was there, and he grabbed me by the arm and floated me back out to the river, and he put me down facing the river I was standing in standing motion with my arms stretched out across the river. And this is when I heard Charlie, Calvin, you okay, son? You okay? And I heard that plane, and I turned around and looked to see what was happening. Well, they was already on their way back to the ship and got into the ship, I mean, just in a few seconds there. And the door closed, and a real bright light left and went away. And then that thing just kind of made a little zipping noise and picked up off the ground and left. I mean, you just really couldn't see it. It's so fast.
How long do you figure you were, from the time you first saw this craft to the time that they returned you? How long do you think the time period was?
Well, I didn't have a watch or anything, but the moon was pretty bright, and I just estimated probably around 45 minutes, maybe an hour at the most.
All right, Calvin, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our break at the bottom for this segment. X-Zone Nation. Our guest this hour is Calvin Parker, and he is the author of a book called Pascagoula, The Close Encounter. Fascinating story. We're going to find out more about this encounter and what happened in the days, weeks, months, and years that followed. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, you can always find out what we're up to by going to our website at www.xzoneradiotv.com and check us out on SimulTV in the X-Zone TV channel by going to www.simultv.com. Calvin Parker and I return on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
We're going back in time for a few minutes, Exo Nation. We're going back to October the 11th, 1973, when our guest this hour was 19 years old. He was fishing with his buddy, and his name is Charles Hickson. Something very strange, unusual happened, as you heard in the first segment. Now, Charles, when we last left, you told us that you estimated that the time from the entire encounter was about 45 minutes. Now, what happened when you came to and Charles was there? What did you guys do?
Well, first thing Charlie wanted to do, he said, well, we got to go tell somebody. But the first thing we did, we sat down and tried to collect our thoughts for a minute because, we was both pretty shaken up.
Right.
And then Charlie said, well, we got to go tell somebody. I said, no, I don't believe we need to tell nobody nothing. Let's just kind of keep this to ourselves. We'll go home, we'll get up in the morning, we'll go to work because people's not going to believe it. And their markets is crazy and we'll both be run out of the whole city here. So he said, well, we got to tell somebody. I said, well, we'll think about it, but I'm not telling nobody. I'm denying the whole thing if you tell anybody, Charlie. So we got up, we gathered up our fishing equipment and made our way back to the car. And immediately when we got to the car, I noticed the window on the passenger side was shattered. But it was in place, but it was shattered, just being held in place. And I'm thinking, boy, this is bad here because that was a brand new car and I didn't like that. So Charlie went to open the door and the window fell out, or he might have knocked it on out to get in there or something. But anyhow, the window fell out. We got in the car. We was having a lot of trouble cranking it. Eventually, we got it cranked, and I went to pull out, and we got back up on Highway 90 and went toward a little store that had a payphone. He said, we got to call somebody. He said, I'm going to call Kiesler. I'm not going to tell them who we are, but I'll call Kiesler. I said, well, do not tell them who we are or nothing.
Now, who's Kiesler?
Kiesler is the Air Force base in Biloxi.
Okay.
So anyhow, he got out and we found a couple of dimes because there weren't no cell phones in, and we didn't have a watch or nothing. All we had was a dime for the payphone.
Right.
So he called them up and they told him, look, we don't deal with this stuff no more. There's no more Project Blue Book. There's no more investigating UFOs. You need to call the local authorities. So he hung the phone up. And if I had known he was just going to call the local authorities in, I would have pulled off and left him at the phone. But Charlie went ahead and dropped a dime. I was sitting in the car and called the sheriff's department. So they told him for us not to leave, just to sit there till they got there. Because they figured, they got two drunk rednecks over here just dreaming up a story. So when they pulled up, there was two of them pulled up in the car. One went to each side of the car, and they looked in the car. Then they asked us to step out. Well, they did a sobriety test, where you jump up and down on one foot, bend over backwards, and touch your nose.
Yeah.
And we went through all that. I felt like a fool out there jumping up and down. But they decided we were sober enough to drive because he said, get in your car and follow us to the sheriff's department. So we got in a car and we started following them back to the sheriff's department. Well, I told Charlie, I said, you idiot, I thought we had talked about this. I don't want to, I didn't want to tell nobody. We got to tell somebody. We got to.
Right.
So anyhow, when we got to the sheriff's department, they got us out of the car, they took him in one room and they took me into another room. And at that time, you know, they started interrogating him separate from what they was interrogating me. And I mean, there was an interrogation there. And they even told me, you know, look, if this is a hoax, you're going to spend a lot of time in jail. Well, I was 19 years old. I didn't know the difference in a hoax, or I didn't even know what the hell they was talking about. So they put us in the same room then. And when they put us in the same room, they had a tape recorder, I guess, that they hid in this room.
Yeah.
And they was taping our conversations. Now, neither one of us knew this recorder was in. And later on, you know, that's what we're going to refer to the secret tape. And they just left us in there by ourselves for a few minutes, and we sat there and talked to each other. Matter of fact, you know, we was both scared to death. And Charlie was handling it better than I was, because he done been to North Korea and all, and, you know, kind of trained
Sure.
for stuff like this. And I hadn't much been off the farm. But anyhow, we talked. In a few minutes, the big sheriff come in, and they walked in there and got something out of the drawer. I didn't see what they had got out, but it was the tape. They went in there and listened to it. So when they got through listening to it, the sheriff come in, and he seen him talk to the deputies for a second. And he walked in and he said, y'all can go on home now. So I turned around and I said, Sheriff Diamond, please don't tell nobody about this. I don't want nobody to know. This is, you know, kind of a personal deal. And Charlie said, yeah, we don't want nobody to know. So anyhow, the sheriff said, I'm not in the business of publicity, and I'm not telling nobody nothing. So we left and went home.
Sure.
We went on, and I guess it was somewhere around 11, 12 o'clock. Like I say, neither one of us had a watch, so we didn't know what time it was. I got in, and all the way home, I was worried about being contaminated either with radiation or bacteria or something on my clothes that, you know, I could give to somebody else. And I even brought it up to Charlie 2 or 3 times, and he didn't seem too worried about it. He kept saying, well, we'll just take care of it tomorrow. I thought, well, you know, you're the first. We done killed it. We done wiped out half of Pascagoula here, your family and the sheriff's department and everybody else. But anyhow, we went home. I pulled all my clothes off. I went to my room, pulled my clothes off, put them in a bag, put my shoes in a bag, tied them up, took them outside, threw them in a dumpster, and come back in, took a shower and bleach. So the next morning we got up and went to work. Well, when we went in, I noticed it was more cars at the shipyard. We was working for the F.B. Walker and Son shipyard, and I noticed it was more cars around there than usual. But I didn't think nothing of it. I said, well, you know, they just got something going on. And we went on to our workstations. It wasn't just a few minutes. They sent someone from the office down there to get us, and they said, Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson, y'all need to come to the office immediately. Well, I had that weak feeling in my stomach, and I had met one of my neighbors, and he was actually the foreman. I didn't even know he lived over here, but he was actually the foreman at the shipyard then. And he said, I remember you getting on your hands and knees out in the parking lot throwing up, and I did. So I knew that's how, that he knew I was there. So we went to the office, and they said, we're going to have to do something. These phones is ringing. We can't conduct business in here. What happened? So they went and they had their attorney that was there. And the reason he was there for, I don't know, I guess for press releases and stuff, because they called him and got him in. And we told him what had happened. And the press had got a hold of it. I don't know how, but this place was swarming. So the attorney arranged for us to go to the hospital. Then he arranged for us to go to the Air Force Base to get checked for radiation. First thing we did, though, they loaded us in a patrol car and took us to the hospital. While we was there, they did a pretty thorough examination, took blood and everything. And the only regret I have, most all them records were destroyed when Katrina hit because they didn't back nothing up on the disc. I mean, we was able to come up with a few of them, but not many.
Right.
And then we left there, and they put us in a car, and they drove us to Keesler. And there was probably, I don't know exactly how many, but I'd say 4 or 5 people standing out there with suits on, radiation suits, and they got us, separated us, took the Geiger counters and went over us and all. And I heard one of them say, well, you know, they don't have no radiation to amount to anything. So they said, now y'all come in here to a meeting. And that's when they had escorted us to the conference room in there. And it was quite a few people. They listed in the book, and the minutes of that meeting's in this book. And it was quite a few officials in there.
All right, so Calvin, we're just going to have to do a bit of a cliffhanger here because I have to take my break. Fascinating story. Calvin, it's great having you with us, and we look forward to continuing this story and your encounter on the other side of this break. Exonation, my guest this hour is Calvin Parker, and he's the author of the new book, Pascagoula, The Close Encounter, and we'll both be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond. You're watching the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Exonation, my guest this hour is Calvin Parker. He is the author of Pascagoula, The Closest Encounter. This book is available on Amazon.com right now. And I must tell you, over the 29 years of doing this show, I've had many people who have claimed to have close encounters, who have claimed to, see Bigfoot, or the spectrum. But I must tell you something, listening to Calvin, he's got me right there. You're very believable, Calvin.
Well, thank you. And there's one thing in the book, we have so much documentation that it would stand up in a court of law if we was in a trial over it or something. We have a polygraph test, we have voice stress test, we have hypnosis, we have the sheriff's department tapes, and I even had a long hypnosis session with Bud Hopkins, and that was the strangest thing because I never thought he hypnotized me. And then Philip was able to get his hands on the original tape.
Right.
Bud had died, and David Jacobs was taking care of that, so he called and asked if I'd sign a release for the publisher, and I did. But I knew in '93 that I had went up, and this was a good while. And the reason for going, I was missing some time there, and it was really bothering me. And I knew that Philip had written a book on missing time.
Right.
Bud Hopkins had written a book on missing times. And I wanted to talk to him, and I knew he was in a conference in Florida. And I knew I had a friend with me. We could slip in there, and he could tell him I wanted to see him without nobody seeing me in this conference.
Sure.
Because I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to talk to people.
Now, before we get to the conference, what happened at the Air Force Base?
Oh, they had a meeting, and that lasted probably an hour and a half, and the minutes of that are in the meeting. And believe it or not, I hadn't even completely read all that part myself. Philip just injected them in. But when they got through, they said, they didn't say, well, we believe you or we don't believe you. They said, why don't y'all go on and we'll be back in touch. Well, that was pretty much the last we heard of them.
Okay, so what happened in a nutshell between the time you left the Air Force to the time that you decided that, hey, something is wrong? You read the book or you heard about Bud Hopkins. He was in Florida. What happened in that period of time?
Well, John Allen Hynek, Dr. Hynek came down, him and Dr. Harder, and they visited with us a couple of days. And Dr. Harder actually hypnotized Charles Hickson, and they tried me, and he got me in, and they had to bring me back because, I was scared, and he said he didn't want to take the chance. So they spent a couple of days, and when they left, they just told the media outside, because the media they was dead on us then. They said, well, if these two men are acting, they should be in Hollywood because they're the best actors I have ever seen.
Right.
So after that, I pretty much just left and went back to my hometown, Laurel, Mississippi. I didn't care if I had a job or what I had down here. And I did hear from Dr. Hynek one time before. He had called and asking questions, but he had such a hard time getting a hold of me. People don't realize cell phones hadn't been around all this time, and the only time you got around the phones when you got to a home phone. And usually you was on a party line and you had about 6 people listening in.
Yeah, I remember those.
So, I know used to we'd leave going out and you'd see your phone would ring. You had 1 or 2 rings and you had a certain ring and they'd have to answer. And then if you picked it up and was going to talk, you'd hear about 7 more clicks picking up, listening in to you. So I didn't like talking that much on the phone.
Right.
But I did take a call from Dr. Heine, and we was planning on getting back together again. He said, I really need to talk to you. And then that's the last I heard of him. I don't know what happened. If maybe he got busy. I don't even know when he passed away. So anyhow, we left it at that. And I went home, and then I got another job, started working. And one day I left going fishing, and I told my wife, I said, I'll be back by 3 o'clock this evening. I'm going to the Cat Island. I'm going to do a little bit of fishing, and I'll be back before dark. Well, she fixed me a lunch, and I got in the boat and I left. It's about an hour trip over there. And when I got there, I remember starting to fish, and it was probably before noon because I was sitting there thinking about, well, I'll just go ahead and eat my own lunch. Mm-hmm. And next thing I knew, it was 3 in the morning. And that like drove me crazy. Where in the world did this time go to?
Exactly.
And I woke up, it was around 3 o'clock, and I said, well, I got to get home. So I tried to run in, the best you can at night on that water. And when I got there, I found a payphone. I called the house and told her I'd be in. She said, well, I thought you was going to be in at this time. I said, well, I did too. But anyhow, that really bothered me. And I lost a lot of sleep for quite a while, wondering about what happened at that time, because that's not right. So that's when I decided. I heard that Bud Hopkins had a book out, Missing Time. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I'm either going to buy the book or go see Bud Hopkins. Well, Charlie had called me in the meantime, and he had always tried to get me to go to these little conferences in different places, and I wouldn't go. Well, there's a conference in Florida, and he was telling me who the speakers were and what was going on. I said, okay, Charlie. He said, well, I'm not going to be able to make it. Why don't you go? I said, I don't want no publicity. I do not want to go. So anyhow, unknowing to him, I got my car and I left. It's about a 12-hour drive. And I met a friend over there. And I said, now look, you going to go in there, you're going to find Bud Hopkins. And he knows my name, I think. Tell him that Calvin Parker wants to talk to him. So Bud came out. He was fixing to walk onto a stage and give a speech, but he came outside where I was. And I said, Bud, I need to talk to you bad. He said, well, let me give my little lecture thing here, and I'll meet you at the room. He said, you go on up to my room, and I'll see you in about an hour, hour and a half. And sure enough, he did. And that's when Bud hypnotized me. And all this session is in this book. I mean, the whole thing. And it really scared me to death when I started reading it, because one thing, I never knew nothing about it. The memory's coming back now. He put, I guess, a post-hypnotic suggestion in my head that as I could handle it, you can remember it.
Right.
And since I seen it and it came out, now I won't listen to the tape. There was an old cassette tape, and Philip put it on CDs, and he has the actual tapes and all. But I never did listen to it because I didn't want to hear it. But I get the book out when I remember a little something about being hypnotized and what was going on. I try to read that part of it. And it's pretty scary what all went on in there. And it was mostly, a lot of it was from 1973, and it was a lot more detail in it than what I remembered or could recall. One thing, there was a couple parking down there that had a car, and I remembered the tag number on that car, and I couldn't believe it that I could even remember. I couldn't remember the tag number on my car then. So I looked these people up. I got an investigator, and I had him look them up. And this couple was down there parking and making out in a car, and I noticed the car, and I got the tag number. Well, they got married just shortly after that, and he recently died. She's in a nursing home, and I went to see her, and she was an eyewitness to all this. And I said, well, can I use your name? No, you can't. She said, I don't want nothing to do with it. Then her doctors and all come in, and ask me to leave. So I'm not going to call her name or nothing because I don't want the media to swarm her. But anyhow, that was really shocking to me to remember her tag number, and I couldn't remember my own. But there's a lot of stuff in this book. Like I say, if it went to court, this book would stand up in court. It's that well documented. A lot of people run it down a little bit, said it wasn't edited just right and all, but it was edited the way that I wanted it. I don't speak proper English, and when I write something, it's from the heart. It's not from an education. I don't have much of an education.
But I must tell you something, my friend. You've got one hell of a heart.
Oh, I love people. And when I write, it comes from my heart.
Calvin, we have to take our final break. I really appreciate you coming on. I'd also like to thank Philip Mantle for helping us to get you onto this show. I've had the pleasure of knowing Philip for many years, and he's a fine gentleman.
He is a great person. I love Philip to death.
All right, my friend, please stand by. Exo Nation, Calvin Parker is my special guest. He is the gentleman behind a book entitled Pascagoula, The Closest Encounter, by Calvin Parker. It's available right now on Amazon.com, and Calvin and I will be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, just on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV. Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Exonation, Calvin Parker is my special guest, and Calvin is the author of Pascagoula, The Closest Encounter. It's available on Amazon.com. And first of all, Calvin, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story with us here on the X Zone. And I'd also would like to thank Philip Mantle for helping make this interview possible. Calvin, what did you learn about your encounter, the missing time encounter? That we know what happened in the first encounter, going back to, when was it? October the 11th in 73. But what happened in the missing time encounter when you went fishing?
Well, when I was fishing, I found out later, I really think that it's two types of beings that's out there. And my first encounter, they seemed to be pretty decent, you know.
Right.
They seemed to really kind of care a little bit, and maybe it was like an experiment. But the second encounter, the one I had when we was fishing, and they was pretty rough. I mean, that was a terrible, terrible place to be right there. They was more abusive than anything. And I guess that's why that Bud Hopkins put me in where I wouldn't remember it, but just as I could remember it and as I could handle it. But there's things that they did that's just unbelievable to man. And I was wondering what the difference was. But you know, I guess there's a difference in people here on Earth. You know, we got some good people, we got some bad people, and we got some that don't care about nobody. And the last one was more like a experiment than a abduction or anything, or wanting to know. And the first one was kind of, well, there's stuff that we need to get out and need to tell you.
Sure.
So,
why do you think you were chosen?
that I don't know. I've asked myself that a many a times.
And since that last encounter going back to the island, have you had any experiences or contact with any extraterrestrials since then?
Not that I know of. And I really hope I don't no more, but I do feel like that maybe the whole world is fixing to have contact with them. You know, you never know. I think, you know, in order to kind of save this planet, they're going to have to, because they need it as much as what we do.
Right. That is so true. We're all part of the same family, kind of.
We are.
How has your encounter changed the way you look at life?
You know, I would really like to know how. I think if this hadn't happened, I'd stayed right there in a small town, had the same job, retired after 25 years, and just been a normal person. But that all changed. I couldn't keep the same job. There's no telling how many jobs I had. When somebody found out who I was, I'd leave. And it was just, you know, just been a solid drift. And finally, I came back to the coast, and Mississippi coast, and I bought a house, and then darn it, Katrina didn't come, and it flooded. We got 8 foot of water in the house and destroyed everything. But we picked the pieces up and went.
Whatever happened to Charles Hickson?
He passed away a few years ago. I don't even know the date he passed away. But they say he had heart trouble and he just passed away. But I still see his son every now and then. Actually, his son don't live too far from me, and we don't see each other regular, but we did go fishing a time or two together.
I was just going to ask you if you still go fishing.
Oh, every day.
Really?
Most of the time, I wait till about 1 o'clock at night. I love to fish at night. You're out there by yourself. It's nobody bothering you. It's kind of cool. The bugs is gone. And I catch myself about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning leaving out and coming back at daylight.
Do you find yourself looking up to the sky?
Every night. When I go out at night, sometime I lean back and just kind of lazy fish and sit there and just watch the sky and see what goes on and comes. And, you know, you see some pretty neat stuff like shooting stars and all.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm just looking for anything. I guess another time, the scariest I ever been, I was on the boat and it was about 9 in the morning. Me and my wife was fishing and I had laid down on the bench. We have a big, nice pontoon boat. Mm-hmm. And I laid down over and was propped up. She wasn't paying attention. And it was a Goodyear blimp just about 200 foot above her head. And that scared the devil out of us. We didn't have no idea it was there. But you just watch for things like that. And while I'm getting to it, I wanted to thank Philip. You know, we was talking about me putting the book in redneck thing. Philip tried to leave my words the best he could where everybody could understand them. And my spelling and everything. I know I don't use proper grammar or English or anything, but he knew that if he went to changing a lot of stuff, that would turn me off right then and I'd be out of there. So he left it the best he could and he straightened it up. And I've seen a couple of people try to ridicule him. That's not Philip, that's me. Philip did an excellent job putting this book together.
Well, he is a professional and a gentleman at that.
He is.
How do you deal with the skepticism that you've faced over the years?
Well, you know, that's kind of easy in a way. Everybody has their own mind and they know how to believe. They know what they believe. The ones that believe. The ones that don't believe won't never believe. And then there's some that's in the middle. And all I could tell them, if you have any doubts, buy this book, read it, or study it. Don't read it. Just go through it and kind of study on it a little bit. Put the facts in there. And I think by the time it's all said and done, you'll at least have an open mind about it.
What are your final thoughts, Calvin, to the members of the X-Zone Nation who are listening around the world tonight, who are on the fence as whether there is life out there or there isn't?
Well, that's kind of easy for me, but I've been there. Walk out the door and look up at the sky. If it's clear night, look at all the stars. All them stars has planets. And you would have to be pretty closed mind to think that there's not other life somewhere in this universe or other universes. Now, we might not never meet some of them and probably won't, but it's got to be other life around. And it even spoke of it in the Bible in different places.
Do you think that they are trying to communicate with us for a good reason? Should we fear them?
I don't, you know, it's like anything else. You know, a person could get scared going to the grocery store because of some of the thugs out there. And I believe that their life is like anybody else, but I also believe that there's a lot of them that want to help us, and we're destroying our planet, and we got politics even that destroys this planet.
Yeah.
And I think they just want to help us before we do destroy this planet, because they need it. Like I say, I think it's a stopping off place for them as well. And maybe they've already destroyed their planets and they just hunt another one so we could all coincide together and live together. I don't know.
I've got about a minute and a half before I have to say so long to you, my friend. Do you ever dream about these encounters that you've had?
Sometime I do, but most of the time I don't. And when I do have dreams, they're not bad dreams. I dreamed one day I was on this first encounter that I was sitting there talking, and we was just going. She was just listening to me, or it was listening to me.
Right.
And we was just talking about what we needed to do here. Now, I never did get no answer from her. So maybe the human race is just not ready for it. But I think it's getting close. My next question is, why are they putting up a Star War thing for the starships?
That's an excellent question. Maybe one day we'll know.
Yeah, I think that the government probably knows more than what they're telling us, and they can't. It's kind of like an Orson Welles deal. I remember back when he got on the radio, and he was a fake invasion, but people were in a panic in.
Yeah.
And I think the government might have learned a lesson from that. And, they're not going to cry wolf and get everybody in a bad panic.
Calvin, the time has come, sir, when I must say so long to you. I want to thank you so much again for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. And I hope that we have the pleasure of having you on the show again someday.
That would be great with me. Thank you for having me.
It's my great.
I've enjoyed it.
And as well as I have, sir. And once again, my thanks also go to Philip Mantle for helping make this interview possible. At Exonation, if you'd like to get your very own copy of Calvin's book, it's entitled Pascagoula, The Closest Encounter by our guest, Calvin Parker. It's available on Amazon.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, iHeartRadio, Simul TV, and watching us on the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. I'll be back. Don't go away. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.